and I'm encouraging my son. You're never going to hit a home run every time you're at bat, but you got to get out and take those swings.
I like it's better to sign the front of the check than the back. I might steal that one from you.
You can license it. You can license
Okay.
it.
I've spoken like only Bill Rancic can. I will license it.
Yeah.
What do you think the biggest mistake people make is? Is it like a Blockbuster thinking, that they're invincible and just this is the way I do it and like not really being able to pivot? Like, what do you think the biggest mistake people make in
I,
business?
I did a show years ago where I got to go in and renovate businesses that were failing. And I came away with three great takeaways that really were the culprit of why all these businesses were failing. And the first one is they surrounded themselves around negative people, right? When you're doing things that are extraordinary, that are taking you, out of the ordinary realm of life, there's always going to be those people who wish they had your drive, your ambition, your vision, but they don't because they're jealous. So they try to pull you down in order to build themselves up, right? Secondly, they're all reactive rather than proactive, right? Because they like drama. So they wait for problems to arise and then they put those fires out and it makes them feel important. Where the smart ones are anticipating problems and coming up with solutions before the problem even arises. Um, and I think thirdly, is that they're not adaptable, right? And their egos stunt their growth. And when your ego gets in the way, you think you know everything there is to know. You know, I've been doing this for 10 years. Don't tell me how to do my job. Well, guess what? Maybe you can find someone who can help you with social media and digital marketing, right? I always say the successful ones think like the conductor of an orchestra, right? They don't try to play every instrument themselves. They find the best trombone player and the best saxophone guy and the best drum. They're the ones who really succeed. The ones who try to play every instrument themselves usually don't make good music and don't succeed. And that's the ones who have big egos.
That's all great advice. You see, this is why you won The Apprentice.
I did win The Apprentice.
You
Yes.
did. I mean, to a whole generation of people, that really is the original like business show that kind of
Yeah.
brought this genre around. Like, do you have memories of that? Like, you've done so much
Oh,
in your life. You do. You have vivid memories.
it's funny that we're talking because 20 years ago last week is when I won that first season. And, I sat down with my wife and my son and I kind of reflected on the last 20 years. And that show, if it wasn't for that show, right, I wouldn't be talking to you today. I wouldn't have met my wife because she interviewed me when she was on E! News. I wouldn't have my son. All the amazing adventures that it really provided me over the last 20 years is truly incredible. And I'm always going to be forever grateful for that opportunity. It was 28 million people tuned in every single week to watch that show on Thursday nights. It was magnificent for me, and obviously winning it was was the icing on the cake.
That was one of my questions because I'm like, maybe I'm just being too dramatic, but it really did change like the course of
Oh,
your life.
without a doubt, and I think about it all the time how grateful I am for that opportunity. But I took a chance. This was the early days of reality television, and I'll never forget one of my sisters found out I was doing it and she said, "Thank God I have a different last name," because she was married, because she thought I was going to embarrass myself on, going on a reality TV show. And obviously she's since changed her tune, but um,
Maybe after you won, she changed her tune,
yeah,
right?
she was hyphenating her last name for dinner reservations.
I mean, and that, you say 28 million, like those numbers just don't, it's a different land. Like you were everywhere. I think the other day on YouTube, just having nothing to do with me sitting down with you
Yeah.
today, you popped up like on the Ellen show. Like, I mean, you
Uh-huh.
were, you were everywhere after you won
Yeah.
that season.
Yeah. No. And my wife and I did a show called Giuliana and Bill. We did 8 seasons of that, which, is hard to do in TV, on E. I've done shows on the Food Network and now on History Channel. And, it's really been a hell of an adventure. No question about it.
Did you, because, it really was like a real job that you won, like you worked
Yeah.
in the Trump organization after that. Like, did you just, as like a businessman, like what did you learn from Donald Trump, the businessman?
Um, you got to pay attention to the details. I was shocked at how detailed he was and how he was involved in negotiating. And you got to keep your eye on the budgets and the money because if you're not doing it, no one else will be. So he signs every check that goes out of there, which at least back in the day. But it was great. I learned a lot about business, a lot about negotiating, a lot about taking risk and having vision, you know?
Wow. Well, you are busy with season two of the mega brands that built America, which again, we'll just give a plug, April 28th at 9
Yeah.
p.m. And episodes are every Sunday at 9
Every
p.m. after
Sunday.
that. But I am also a huge foodie. So
Yeah.
I've had the pleasure of eating at RPM Italian in Vegas.
Oh, great.
What is it? And let me tell you, Mama DePandi's bucatini,
Oh,
number one thing for me on the menu.
that's our number one seller at every restaurant we have.
Really?
Yeah. Yep.
Do you have a favorite dish on the menu?
Well, that's one of them. It's Juliana's mother, or actually, it's her grandmother's recipe. It took our chefs 30 different tries to get it right with Mama DePandi. So we finally got it right. We now have it bottled, so you can buy it in the jar. So we're now rolling that out to people so they can have it at home. But that's one of my favorites. We've got an amazing steak called the Duke. We named it after our son Duke. That's our number one selling filet. It's amazing. But there's so many great items. We're always evolving the menu. We're always changing the menu. Depending on which city you're in, we adapt it so we're able to take advantage of some of the local fare. So we have restaurants in Washington D.C. and we have Maryland crab on the menu there, which we don't have in Chicago. So we try to get as fresh and as local ingredients as we possibly can, and that's really for us the importance of building that brand was about food. It was about food first, and Julia and I could get people to come in the door once, but if the food didn't exceed your expectations and the service wasn't world class, you wouldn't come back again. And we're 14 years into the first restaurant that we opened, and it's busier today than it's ever been. And it's funny, People Magazine had an article last week, and they picked RPM Steak, which was our second restaurant that we opened, as one of the hottest restaurants in Chicago to see celebrities. And it's the spot where all the celebrities go when they come into town, from Dave Matthews to Red Hot Chili Peppers to Bieber, you name it. All the athletes go in there. So for me, we're really proud of that brand and the restaurant, that we built, and we're continuing to grow it.
And talk about a tough business. The
Tough
restaurant
business.
business is tough. Do you get, you mentioned Bieber and, Dave
Yeah.
Matthews, and I said you're on Ellen. Like, are you the type, because you've been in, you are in the public eye in addition to being
Yeah.
an actor. Like, do you get starstruck? Are you the type that gets starstruck?
Um, you know, not a lot, because obviously my wife did the red carpet for 20 years, so I got to know a lot of these people and become friends with them. So in the beginning, I think I did, but I realized they're just people, they're no different than you or I. So it's great to kind of get to have the ability to meet some of these extraordinary people and have them come in and really treat them to an amazing experience at our restaurants. That's a lot of fun for me.
I feel the same way. I mean, on a much, much, much smaller scale than Giuliana on E.
Yeah.
Before I did this job, I